cats, how you doing? Little Tommy coming at you. Sunday. Happy Sunday, everybody. Homeschooling, God knows what number. Hope everybody's okay out there in the madness of this current world. Good Lord. Back from 4 days of sessions, we got today off and then we're back at it again tomorrow for 6 more days. It's good to see the lads, good to play some music again. I'm having a good time. Sorry I've been so delinquent to my dear homeschooling family, but things will be back to normal, don't worry. And I'll be doing updates and all that. So I wanted to say thanks to everybody for the kind words about the mugs and the shirts. Seems like everybody's loving them. I know they're sold out on the website now, but they'll be back, don't worry. So just keep looking at www.guitarhouse.net for new stuff, okay? Here's an old 78 BC Rich Super Eagle Maple. Just got this recently. I've always loved these. A lot of my childhood guitar idols played these. Man, I loved Pat Benatar when I was a kid. I remember seeing Neil Giraldo rocking one of these, and Rick Derringer, and Joe Perry, of course, and a lot of other guys. But in the late '70s, this was a pretty solid alternative to a Les Paul that you can get. And man, these things are the sound of rock and roll with these DiMarzio dual sounds and all those crazy switches. I'm still figuring out what they do, but man, this thing sounds cool. I also like those early Hamers and those early Deans too, the 78, 79, 80. Someone told me one time that the real early Hamers that Joel, I think his name was Joel Danzig, made, he had a stockpile of old PAFs, and I think the earliest ones all had PAFs in them, real ones. Pretty cool. So yeah, I'm just, I wanted to talk to you. One guy said in the viewer comment bin, he said, the ads on your videos are out of control. I'm still figuring that out, so just be patient, guys. I don't know shit about YouTube or how to work anything, so I'm gonna try to get a guy over here that can help me figure out how to put the ads only at the beginning of the videos. Appreciate your patience on that. It drives me nuts too. So I'm gonna figure that out, but just be patient because I'm a newbie at this whole YouTube thing, What else we got in the old viewer comment bin? This guy he said something, hey Tom, just wanted to say your videos are cool. You're a badass dude. Thanks, man. He said, and we can finally put to rest the debate of who is the best Slovenian guitarist once and for all. That's funny. Yeah, I've had a few people, I hinted around at being Slovenian with my weird last name, Bukovac, which I found that I'm pronouncing wrong all these years, but apparently in Slovenia they call it Bukovac. But I'm just doing what my mom did, and we're pretty far removed. I got a bit of Croatian in me as well, and I think my mother's maiden name was Castle, C-A-S-T-L-E, and she had some English in her, so maybe that's why I love English stuff so much. But yeah, one day I want to go to Slovenia and Croatia and check out all that, the homeland. But yeah, it's been quite a job going through life with a name like this that nobody can really say or spell. Even though it's only 7 letters, no one can ever spell it right. And I've heard all kind of mispronunciations of it. But apparently I've been mispronouncing it too. But I kind of like the way it sounds, Bukovac. Sounds like a high-powered vacuum. By the way, it's no coincidence that my name has vac at the end, because I've had a lifelong obsession with vacuuming. I've got 4 or 5 Dysons. I like those wands, I'm constantly vacuuming. My wife's always making fun of me because I'm vacuuming all the time. I cannot stand stuff on the floor. It's like a OCD thing with me. When you walk around with bare feet, you can feel stuff on the floor. Oh God, I hate that. So I'm always vacuuming. She makes fun of me because, I actually have vac in my name. So there's that. Another guy said, on that video I posted where I showed all the gear in Blackbird, a lot of people were asking in comments like, how do you get all that gear to the session? Is that you don't take all that yourself, do you? No, I don't take all that. The session guys have this thing called cartage, right? So there's this company that you work with that stores all your gear in their warehouse, and they got nice trucks, and they can take the gear out of the warehouse. You tell them what studio you're going to be at. They take it to the studio and set it up for you. It's quite a nice thing. You just walk in and play, really. And I've got the all-time ninja of cartage guys, Richie from Soundcheck is the name of the company. And I've had Richie for a long time. He's awesome. I don't know what I would do without him. I think he watches the show, so if you're watching, what's up, Richie? He's the greatest, man. I trust him with all that stuff, you know, and I know he's always going to do a great job. He's everything's always set up perfect when you come in. It's great. And the client usually, you know, pays for that, and that's sort of worked into the whole session budget. That's always been that way, you know, for years and years, long before I started doing sessions. Although I imagine, you know, in these days, as budgets get tighter and tighter, and people want you to carry your own gear more often, so you got a way smaller rigs, and you know, you're going to home studios, and they don't have room for all that stuff, you know. But if you're doing a proper session in a proper studio like I've been doing this week, you know, cartage is cool. Everybody's got it there, and you know, the drums are all set up through cartage and the keyboard rig and everything. So it's been good. And speaking of that session, one last thing I wanted to talk about from the comments on that. In my guitar rack, there was an old competition orange Mustang, and then in Jimmy's bass rack, there was an old competition orange Mustang bass. Very, you know, the same year. And I just wanted to tell you a heartwarming story about that. A couple years ago, I was at Rumble Seat Music, and Elliot, the guy who's a dear friend that owns Rumble Seat, he said, "Man, I got a really cool Mustang," and I checked it out. It's beautiful, rare competition orange, '68, killer guitar, and I loved it immediately, and I bought it from him, and started using it, and I was really liking the way it sounded, and took it to a couple sessions, and I took it to one session with Jimmy Slose, the bass player, who's like my dear old friend who've done a million sessions together over the years. Fellow Ohio man, I think he's from Dayton, and but he took one look at me playing that guitar, and he looked like he saw a ghost. He goes, "Let me see that," and he walked over to it, and he starts looking at it. He's just looking at this guitar, going, "Tommy, this may be the actual one, my very first guitar when I was a kid." He had the identical, and those orange ones are rare, you know, the competition orange, and he's looking at the tuners, because there was many variants of those, you know, and he's the exact same tuners I had on my, you know, he was going back to his childhood, you know, and I saw that look on his face. You know, he's a very sentimental fella, and he didn't have that guitar anymore, and he was thinking that it might actually have been the same one, you know. So you know what happened. Much as I love that guitar, I eventually, I just gave it to him one day. I just was on a session with him, and I said, "Hey, Jimmy, I've been putting this off because I'm really having fun playing it, but I want you to have this guitar, you know." And he was very grateful, and so, you know, that he loves that guitar. He always sends me pictures of him practicing with it and playing it, and I'm glad I gave it to him, because he's one of the coolest dudes on planet Earth, and he's a dear, dear old friend. I love him so much. Great bass player too. And so anyway, the story gets better. A year or so later, Elliot sent me a picture of the matching bass, the exact matching bass, same year, same exact paint, racing stripe and the whole bit. So I texted a picture of it to Jimmy, and I go, "Dude, you got to get this, because it's the matching set, right?" And he went down there and bought it. And man, what a cool set, right? Both of those things are identical, matching guitar and bass. And he's been using that bass a lot. He said it's great. He used it on a whole record the other day. And so when he knew where I was going to be at that session, he brought that guitar for me to play. So it's his guitar, but he bought it. You know, he brought it along just so I could play it. So it's cool to see both those instruments there, because that's pretty rare. Those orange ones, you know, you don't see a lot of those. You see more of the blue or the red ones. You know, they're pretty a lot more common. But anyway, a little walk down memory lane there for you. So here's that crazy loop thing I was just doing. It's like a 2-chord thing. I'll probably get my Strat to show you this. Here, let's see what we got. Okay, that's my my world music roots show in there for you. My Peter Gabriel You know, I grew up listening to that stuff, but just 2 chords back and forth. I'm in drop D with this guitar, so I was going like. Which is like hammering on the middle strings, you know, G and B, pulling it off to an open D and G. And then it's back to the E. So you pull off to a bar chord. So it's just like a hammer on, pull off thing. You just got to get that churning rhythm going. And then I overdubbed the part over that, like a. And I put a little bass on it, and that was it. So it's just 2 chords back and forth, sort of a dark industrial jam, sort of fitting for the times. Oh man. All right. So then I think that's it for today. I'll be checking in over the next few days with you guys, and enjoy your Sunday, okay? Take care.